In this lesson, we're going to be talking about the distributive property. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to use the distributive property to write equivalent and numerical algebraic expressions. Before we jump into the distributive property, let's look at a little introduction. So, we have two rectangles, and we want to find the area of each rectangle separately. So if we found the area of this one, remember area is using multiplication. This is at length times width. So if we're using multiplication here, 3 times 4 would be 12. 3 times 2 would be 6. And then adding them together, this would give you an area of 18. Another way that you could find the area of these would be to combine the 4 and the 2. So putting them together first. So 4 plus 2 would be 6, and 6 times 3 would give you 18. So this would give you an area of 18. What we would call these two things are equivalent expressions. This is essentially the distributive property. So here is the distributive property. The distributive property is when you are multiplying a number by a sum or by a difference. What you would do in the distributive property is you would multiply each number that's inside of your parentheses, so each term, whether it be a variable or a number, each term, by the number that is on the outside. So you're going to multiply each term or each number that is inside the parentheses by the number that's on the outside, giving you an equivalent expression. So you would do 2 times a, which would be 2a, 2 times 4, which would be 8, and keeping that operation that's there in the middle. So this is your distributive property. An equivalent expression is what you'll get when we use the distributive property. These are expressions that have the same value, but they may be written differently. You can look at this in terms of money. So if we have 50 cents, there are multiple ways, to represent, well, not 50 cents, but there are multiple ways to represent money. So if we had 35 cents, let's look at this top one. So 35 cents could be represented as 3 dimes and 5 pennies, or you could have a quarter and 2 nickels. Again, it's the same value, but the way that they're expressed looks a little different. So rewriting expressions when we have the distributive property, this is what we want to do. So we're going to rewrite using the distributive property, and then if we can evaluate it, we'll evaluate. So using the distributive property, what this tells us to do is it says take each of the numbers that's on the inside, multiply it by the number that's on the outside. So here we have 3 times 2 twelfths. So remember, if you're multiplying by a fraction, numerator times the numerator. So this would be 6 over 12 plus 3 times 6, which is 18. 6 over 12 would be the same thing as 1/2 plus 18. And 1/2 plus 18 equals 18 and a half. So this would be our, this would be the solution to this one. Okay, even if the number's on the back end of it, this is still the distributive property. You're still multiplying each of the terms that is on the inside by the term that's on the outside. So you would do 2/5 times 5, which would be 10 over 5, minus 6 times 5, which would be 30. And then you'll evaluate it. 10 divided by 5, or 10 over 5, is 2. Minus 30 equals negative 28. So this would be the expression for that one. Alright, here we have expressions because we have variables in here, so you won't have a numerical answer or one numerical answer, but what you'll end up with is an equivalent expression. So let's write the equivalent expression. Remember that you're multiplying each term on the inside by the term that is on the outside. So you'll have 2 times x, which is 2x. 2 times 4.1, which is 8.2. When we're looking at b, again, you're doing the same thing. So you'll have the term on the outside being multiplied by both of the numbers on the inside, or both terms on the inside. So you have negative 3 times x over 3, which is negative 3x over 3, or just negative x, because those will cancel out. and then negative 3 times minus 7, which gives you plus 21. So this would be your equivalent expression here. If we look at the next one, again, remember that even if the number is on the back end of it, you're still multiplying it to both items on the inside. So you have negative 5 times x, which is negative 5x. And then you have negative 5 times 1/3 y, which is minus. Negative times positive is a negative. So negative 5 over 3, or 5/3 y. Remember that when you're multiplying to a fraction, the whole number gets multiplied to the numerator, and then you simplify if necessary. Recognize here, this is another way of saying negative 1 times x plus 1. So you're going to multiply or distribute the negative 1 or the negative sign throughout. So this would change to negative x minus 1. Okay, so can we go backwards? Can we undistribute or unfactor? So we're looking for the factor, or a factor that goes into both 8 and 24. Well, we know that 8 goes into 8 and 24. So what we would do is we would pull out an 8. If we pull out or divide by an 8 here, the 8 goes away and you're left with x. If we divide out an 8 here, we're left with 3. And so that is how we would go backwards. All right. A one-day pass to an amusement park costs $40. A round-trip bus ticket to the park costs $5. We want to write two equivalent expressions to find out the total cost of a one-day pass and a bus ticket. So here we're looking at 15 students. Okay, so what we could do is we could take 15 times 40, because we know that the amusement pass costs $40 and it's per student. And we could add it to the cost for a round-trip bus ticket per person. So this would be 15 times 5. And then you could add them. Or we know that that cost is going to be the same for both. So we could say one student would cost $40 plus $5. And since we have 15, we could multiply that by 15. So these are two equivalent expressions. When you multiply them, or when you add them, what you'll end up with is the same answer. All right. Before watching the next video, please consider the following question. The distributive property is, think about what the distributive property is. As usual, please like and subscribe to this channel so that you can get updates on any videos that are, or any new videos that are being posted.